Hello, Jerry Heron. Welcome to the new LGB Patriots group. I really appreciate you joining. And now the why. Why do we need another gay group? Simply put, many gay people, like myself, are finding ourselves in a gay civil rights wasteland, politically homeless, and feel more and more isolated from the so-called gay community and gay politics, which no longer represent us. So let's explore what gay groups are out there and how they represent us or don't. Firstly, on the far left, there is the ubiquitous LGBTQ alphabet soup group, seemingly wanting to be more and more inclusive, adding more and more letters and acronyms to the point of ridiculousness. Secondly, to the center left is the LGB Alliance UK and now the LGB Alliance USA, who have firmly rejected the T in LGB but are still entrenched in partisan politics and involved more and more in gender issues than gay sexuality issues. Thirdly, over to the right is the LGBT log cabin Republicans, who are conservative but have bought into the myth that transgender is sexuality. There is no T in sexuality. So where do we find our gay civil rights home with these choices? The LGBTQ alphabet people have evolved over decades to take the lead in campaigning for gay civil rights, and they have done some remarkable work and made amazing strides to protect homosexuals' place in society. Unfortunately, they seem to be focused less and less on homosexual rights and more involved in other political issues, particularly gender and transgender. So, a question I often ask, what do you do when you have attained your gay civil rights to live free from discrimination? Go home because your work is done, or continue looking for more and more special protections and special rights, constantly pushing society-accepted boundaries? The founding gay civil rights groups, Gay Liberation Front, were about finding a place in society free from discrimination, protection in employment, protection in housing. I was there in the late 1970s involved. This is my eyewitness experience. Being able to cohabitate with your gay partner without threat, being able to walk in the streets, holding hands, free from abuse and violence. We are way past those goals. So what's with this push to include gender dysphoric, gender confused, mentally ill, heterosexual men in a huge range of fantasy sexualities in the gay community? I think partly it's hubris, partly narcissism, partly self-importance, and mostly not being able to accept that we have already won our gay civil rights battle. Federal law in the United States includes sexuality as a protected class. I think that the next battle for the LGB community is to protect those civil rights and prevent them from being eroded or dismantled because of the vain behavior of the LGBTQ acronym crowd. They represent us poorly. We are LGB, never T. I reject transgender as a sexuality. Transitioning your gender is an oxymoron. It is an impossible feat. Yes, you can mutilate your body with surgery, poison yourself with lifelong chemical treatments, but you will never change your biology. And transitioning is also a misnomer. The majority of the gender confused do not transition completely and retain their nature-given genitals with the addition of fake breasts, for example, wigs, and costume. Most transgender women, which confusionally means a man who has a gender dysphoria or who is pretending to be a woman, is now gaining access to girls' and women's spaces via this gender ruse. This is placing many predators in direct contact with their victims. And girls' and women's spaces, locker rooms, changing rooms, and especially women's sports are being decimated by this intrusion. Crimes by these gender dysphoric men, including penetration with their penis, are recorded as crimes committed by women. It's a fraud. And the new gay conversion therapy is this plague of transgender activists, doctors, supposedly mental health experts who are convincing children that they are born in the wrong body. An example would be that tomboy girl who may or may not grow up to be lesbian is being persuaded to take body-damaging puberty blockers and even surgery, mastectomies, before they're old enough and mature enough to make that decision. That persuasion will most often leave them infertile and with a life filled with health issues. The same goes for effeminate boys who, again, may or may not grow up to be gay, being persuaded to take body-damaging puberty blockers and even surgery, which is nothing less than castration. When you have mutilated your vagina, when you have removed your penis and testicles, you no longer enjoy sexual pleasure. Think about that. Yes, this is an extremely important gay civil rights issue. They are literally converting potential gay and lesbian youth into gender dysphorics with drugs and mutilation. And even more bizarre, adult lesbians and gay men are being pressured to have sexual relationships with their opposite gender or risk being accused of being transphobic. I know no lesbian who is interested in having sex with a gender confused person with a penis. And I know no gay man interested in having sex with a gender confused person with a vagina. This is outright woke social gaslighting. I also reject the letter Q for queer used in LGBTQ because it is the N word for the gay community. Every single day that I left home as an art student in London, I was catcalled by youth calling me queer. Frequently, gay people in London exited gay pubs at closing time, were confronted by groups of homo-hating skinheads yelling out abuse and calling them queer. Queer is not a term of endearment. The LGBTQ alphabet community and also the gay press use queer supposedly to make it impotent and therefore harmless. But it isn't harmless, it's hurtful. It's as damaging as the N-word, and we need to stop using it. It's LGB, period. No T and no Q. I'm also rejecting the rainbow flag. We already have our national colors. They are red, white, and blue, and the many other colors of nations who have laws protecting gay rights. We are lucky enough to live in some of the best nations for gay civil rights, and we should all be proud patriots. Loving your country, being a patriot, should not be a partisan political issue. The gay flag, the rainbow monogram, was usurped in the 1970s from the Greenpeace movement, the Rainbow Warrior Ship, and also the anti-nuclear movement. I lived in the UK in the late 1970s. This is my eyewitness account. I think the rainbow flag was promoted by manic fans of Judy Garland and her song, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And remember, the Stonewall riots started the same week that Judy Garland died. The rainbow flag is very symbolic, but I think it has now come to symbolize all that is twisted and misguided in the gay community, and it's time to drop it. Now, onto the center-left, LGB Alliance UK and LGB Alliance USA. I was very heartened to find this group being created by Kate Harris and Bev Jackson, who have similar gay activist provenance in the UK as I do, except those two courageous women have never stopped fighting for gay rights. They were very alarmed by the erosion of lesbian spaces by gender-confused heterosexual men, as I am, and they have pushed back hard. LGB Alliance strongly asserts that LGB is about sexuality and not gender. I outreached the group and expressed an interest in being involved in the founding of the LGB Alliance USA, and Bev Jackson called me from London. So we had a very congenial conversation until she remarked that we need to work hard to elect Democrats. I responded, "Why would you support the party of Sharia law?" After a long pause, Bev started questioning me about my social and political background. I was born in a British colony in Africa, therefore I'm a privileged white male, and slowly she discounted me via her lefty litmus test. Apparently, I wasn't left enough. The LGB Alliance, supposedly a non-political party group, are firmly supporting the USA Democrats. Note that the Democrats have many Muslim elected members who believe in enslaving women in fabric cages and executing gay men and lesbians. The Republican Party, on the other hand, don't have a single elected Muslim member. Bev also contradicts herself when she affirms that this group is about sexuality and not gender. Then she includes reproductive rights in their platform, which is a gender issue, it's not a sexuality issue. She also makes it very clear that they do not take funding and do not support the religious right in America, placing them firmly to the political left.
The accusations have come in every single day since the 22nd of October that we are funded by the Heritage Foundation and that we have links to the religious right in America. This is completely false. In fact, our code of conduct forbids it. We don't have any links to organizations that are against that don't don't adhere to our principles, and that don't support women's reproductive rights.
Now, I am empathetic to UK gay history and LGBT Alliance stance because the UK had a socialist foundation since the 1945 Labour Party election victory. And the truth is that the socialist left were always fighting for gay rights, when the conservative right were not. The conservatives were living in denial, living a gay lie, getting married and having clandestine gay relationships on the side, or hiring rent boys. My coming out in London was therefore with the socialist left. Now, on to the log cabin gay Republicans. In many ways, I am neither fish nor fowl. I'm a red pill liberal, I'm gay, I'm an atheist, and strange bedfellows with the Christian conservative right. Seemingly, we should have nothing in common. But I have come to realize that the Republican Party is no longer the party of Jesse Helms, Strom Thurmond, and Robert Byrd, but the party of Candace Owen and Charlie Kirk. This is not the homo-hating party of the 1990s, where some evangelicals were pressing to bring in the death penalty for homosexuals. Yes, you can surf and find those videos online of TV evangelicals saying this. When liberals criticize me for being involved with the so-called hard-right politics, I point out to them that my choice was either support the party, which include Muslim members endorsing throwing homosexuals off rooftops, or the party of turn the other cheek. The choice was easy. I was very happy to be involved with the Log Cabin Republicans Phoenix chapter, but I firmly rejected the T in the LGBT. This put me in direct conflict with the group, who confirmed that they take the direction from DC and this was not going to change. After being constantly chastised and censored for posting articles exposing transgender as having nothing to do with sexuality, I left the group. Log Cabin Phoenix were also constantly nervous that their single transition member would sue for discrimination. The tail is wagging the dog. Now, Log Cabin's Richard Grenell, President Trump's favorite homo, is pressing to include transgender women to Republican elected office. The rot continues. So what are our other issues destroying our gay reputation and gay civil rights? Here is a perfect example of how gay people are being squeezed out from their own community. This list is from a gay dating website, not one of those famous apps, but a browser-based website. When you go to register, you need to identify your sexuality by clicking a radio button from a long list of options. So here are your choices. See if you can pick out your sexuality. Man, woman, agender, androgynous, bigender, demi-man, demi-woman, gender fluid, gender non-conforming, gender questioning, gender variant, genderqueer, intersex, nutrius. I have no idea what nutri is, as apart from no idea what most of these are. Non-binary, other, pangender, polygender, two-spirit, trans man, trans woman, trans feminine, transgender, transgender man, transgender person, transgender woman, trans masculine, transsexual, transsexual man, transsexual woman. Did you notice that these are all genders and made-up sexualities? You may have also noticed that on this lesbian, gay, bisexual dating site, they left out the option to select lesbian, gay, or bisexual. This is the extremity of the work world gaslighting that is poisoning society and our gay community. And we need to call this out as bogus. We need to call out that the Emperor's New Clothes are a fraud. We also need to firmly reject drag queen story time. This is nothing more than an obvious attempt to target and sexualize children and indoctrinate them, convince them that a vacuous life of makeup, dress up, sexual twerking, and prancing about is a valid lifestyle choice. It's not.
And then you just move your bum up and down like that, and that's twerking.
Even more egregious is the Desmond is Amazing trend, where they are sexualizing prepubescent boys. Sex is for consenting adults. Sex is not for children. No child should be in a gay nightclub at 3 a.m. faux stripping to an approving audience of adults who are slipping dollar bills into his clothing. This is simply boy prostitution. I also question the term pride, as in gay pride and gay pride month. What exactly are you proud of? Why exactly do we need a so-called Pride Month? If you were born this way, you didn't work to attain your sexuality, you inherited your sexuality. What accolade are you looking for? The gay pride parades have become gay shame parades. I know an increasing number of gay people who have no interest in attending. These parades don't represent gay people with their outrageous behavior, hedonism, public nudity, and even public sex. I'm no prude, but if you want to be nude, do it in private, your home, your backyard, your nudist clubs, your nudist beaches, your nudist campgrounds. If you need an audience, then I suggest you join the many celebrities on OnlyFans website. Just keep it away from the public who don't want to have themselves or their children exposed. Gay people have striven for years to convince straight society that we are hardwired to be gay. Then why is it so hard for gay society to accept that straight people are also born that way? Why the constant pressure to emasculate straight men? Convince them that all men are gay, they just haven't experienced man-on-man sex. Or that women are inherently lesbian because it is part of every heterosexual man's fantasy. Why the constant pressure to emasculate all men by making them ashamed of being men, ashamed of being masculine, ashamed of male body hair, particularly their pubes? LGB folks need to be reminded that we are 5.6% of society, according to current statistics, and we need the support of the majority voting bloc. Alienating them only harms us. Come after their spaces, intrude into their sex and gender, target and influence their kids. We will all pay the consequences. There is going to be a hard pushback. So, how do we move forward and begin to carve out a space where we can affirm just LGB? By inviting your friends with similar appreciation on these issues and help grow this movement, by accepting that not everyone in our LGB Patriots group is going to have your politics. Appreciate their point of view by accepting that lesbian and gay men are somewhat strange bedfellows, and we often have little in common outside of our sexuality. Both lesbians and gay men need to accept that not all lesbians want men in their spaces and not all gay men want women in their spaces. There is something very special about it being exclusively with your own gender for bonding over like-minded issues and concerns. We don't need to be tied at the hip, but we all need to be in the same boat, rowing in the same direction, or our freedoms are going to be destroyed from within by our own community. Thank you so much for watching and listening. I look forward to growing this group and hearing your feedback and input. Be well. Walk in sunshine.